Good afternoon. Today we will study about an interrogative adverb. Previously, we studied about an interrogative pronoun. Who, whose, what, and which. And we also studied about the interrogative determiner, whose, what, and which. In this class, we will study about the interrogative adverb, which is classified as an adverb. There are three types of the descriptive words. The first one is a verb that describes a subject of a clause. And the second descriptive word is a determiner or an adjective. A determiner describes the subject or the object in the clause in a limited way, in a limited definition of each word. Compared to the limited descriptive definition of the determiner, the adjective describes the subject or the object in the clause in a various way, in the various definition, because the adjectives can be considered to be derived from a verb. So the adjective can describe the subject or the object about its experience, condition, or action. The third descriptive word is an adverb. An adverb describes a described word. An adverb is a descriptive word for the other descriptive word. So we can understand that the adverb describes a verb. An adverb describes a determiner or an adjective. The adverb describes the other adverb. The adverb describes a verb in the other clause. So that the adverb reveals the logical relation between the two clauses in a way to start the second clause. This adverb is called as a conjunctive adverb. In this class, we will study about an adverb that starts that leads, that is applied in a clause that is an interrogative. This means that the adverb describes the definition of the verb of the clause. The interrogative adverb describes the definition of the verb of the clause about its time, its place, its way to a condition, according to the way, or the reason for the actualization. So as I introduced the four ways of the adverbs to describe the definition of the verb, we can understand that there are four types of the interrogative adverb. From now on, let's start to read the explanation about the interrogative adverb. The interrogative adverb specifies the definition of the verb to indicate the experience, condition, or action that the subject actualizes on the premise that the subject exists with the four pieces of information. The four pieces of information that the interrogative adverb conveys are that the time and place for the subject to actualize the definition of the verb. The first one of the third information, the way that the subject is allocated to actualize the definition of the verb. For example, in an interrogative clause with the interrogative adverb how, we can ask about the way that the subject chooses to actualize the definition of the transitive verb or verb. For example, there's an example like, how do you go to school? Then the listeners can respond to this question in a way to explain their transportation, their car, their way to go to school. This is about the first one, and the second one for the third information, the condition that the subject is surrounded from the actualized way. This is about the condition that the subject is surrounded after the subject chooses one of the ways to actualize the definition of the verb of the clause. Let's go back to the example. According to the question, how do you go to school? The listeners can respond to this question about the transportation as the way, and the listeners also can respond to this question about their mood. Like, I go to school happily. I go to school cheerfully. Something like that. So, we admit the important information that the interrogative adverb how is an inclusive word. This means that the speaker can describe the way that the subject actualizes the definition of the verb to the condition of the subject after the subject actualizes the definition of the verb with the way described firstly. So we can also think of the range from the way to the condition of the subject. This is very useful when we study the relative adverb how. The speaker does not apply the relative adverb how and the precedent the way at the same time, because the adverb how delivers the inclusive definition from the way to the condition of the subject in the subordinate clause. What about the case that the speaker applies the precedent the way to link the subordinate clause to the main clause? The speaker intends to focus on the limited definition that the adverb, that the relative adverb how can deliver to the listeners. The speaker intends to focus on the way out of the range of the definition, not the condition. And let's read the first one. And The reason that the subject actualizes the definition of the verb. Let's start to study with the first sort of the interrogative adverb, when.